Buenas noches, SHPE familia. Welcome back to the latinXfactor Sharpen Your Professional Edge program. I'm Dr. Dora Renaud here at SHPE National. Our show tonight is Pitching for Success, where you will learn all about how to pitch your business idea to investors, along with some entrepreneurship strategies and expert tips. We will be highlighting our first annual SHPE Pitch Competition taking place at the 2021 National Convention in Orlando, Florida this November. Tonight, our esteemed panelists include one of our brand new board members, Steve Bermudez, who is a successful engineer, real estate business broker, an entrepreneur and business executive. Steve is currently the CEO of a corporate development firm, Redline Ventures, and he earned his Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. We also have La Famosa Francesca Scotto, lifetime member, SHPE and ongoing SHPE volunteer, who kickstarted our entrepreneurship track at the National Convention a couple of years ago. Francesca is the founder of Brava Management Consulting. She has been promoting tech entrepreneurship as a most effective tool of activism and economic development. She has been on the stages and pages of South by Southwest, Fox News, Forbes, and more. And last but not least, we have Jonathan Franco, who is this year's pitch competition lead. He is currently a senior sales engineer at Eaton in Seattle for over 5 years. He has a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from the University of South Florida in Tampa. And Franco has been a chapter president, an ongoing volunteer with so many of our national events, including the VUCA competition earlier this year. So as a reminder, if you have questions throughout the show, go ahead and add them to the chat and we will get to those towards the end of the show. So happy to have you join us tonight. Francesca and Franco, welcome to the show. And without further ado, I will pass over the mic to our special guest, Steve, to provide a little more in-depth introduction.
Well, thanks, Dora. Glad to be here. Yeah, as Dora, let me see if I can share my screen here. As Dora mentioned, I'm a Cal Poly San Luis Obispo graduate, civil structural engineer. I'll tell you what, Cal Poly through my entrepreneurial career has been really was the hardest thing I ever did, engineering school. I was a SHPE member. I joined my freshman year and was a SHPE member through all 4 years, and the tutoring services that they had really helped me actually get to where I am today. As Dora mentioned, I run a corporate development and venture capital firm where I help early to mid-stage companies grow through capital raising, strategic partnerships, and just any other way I can help them by connecting dots and forming strategic alliances. Some quick, highlights that I want to show you. In the past, I raised like $8.5 million for an early stage tech company from 60 separate angel investors, years and years ago. After that, I joined a company called Impact, helped grow them internationally. Impact, just 2 weeks ago, is now valued over $1.5 billion. And they were an early stage startup. They recently raised another 150 million, and they're going to be IPOing pretty soon. Previous to that, I had corporate development experience, leading global real estate for a multi-billion-dollar software company called Citrix Systems. This is an article in Forbes that was published about a really amazing deal that was structured with the local government, where we raised over $18 million in local, state, and federal tax credits, and negotiated a big improvement allowance of over $10 million with a local developer to basically create one of the most profitable, I would say, tenant landlord relationships, I believe, in history. And we ended up selling this building for the highest price per square foot in the history of the region as well on the back end. I've been fortunate enough to be part of another group that was in the healthcare space. We put together the really largest health fair in America. We screened literally hundreds of thousands of people for early stage diseases in one day for free at every Walmart in the United States. We coordinated the, thousands of mobile clinicians to do so. And then here's like another one that we did, which was a strategic partnership with a major healthcare company that added significant revenues to their bottom line. So it's been an interesting career. It changes every day, and I just try to add value anywhere I can. And now, that I'm here, I'm able to give back to early stage entrepreneurs and help the SHPE organization because I wouldn't be here without them. So, yeah.
I am so excited to have someone like you on our board. Steve, we haven't had the chance to interact much, and in fact, we're kind of meeting today, but it is very encouraging to see someone with your background and your expertise as part of our visionary team, someone that can come in and infuse that kind of entrepreneurial thinking and programming, really, and goals into what the board is creating for the organization mid and long term. So very excited that you are part of the group. I don't know, Dora, you had mentioned you wanted us to do intros, but I already have questions. So where do we go from here?
Did I miss anything for your introduction that you want to share?
Oh, no, I'm good. You had said like, oh yeah, I want you guys to talk more about you, be more, transparent and all that stuff, but I'm ready to ask questions. All right, I'm asking questions.
Let's just jump into it then. We're good.
So we're going for it. So here's the first thing that I'm wondering, Steve, with your background, and I'm sure that you're busy and you have so many projects going on, and then you get a phone call, you want to be part of the board for SHPE, and you jumped at it, right? So yeah. Why? Like, what attracted you to be a part of the board?
Yeah, again, I just think about, through everything that I've been working on and continue to do, the hardest thing I ever did was engineering school by far. And I wouldn't have gotten through there without SHPE. So when I had the opportunity to give back and help the organization that helped me get here, it was instant for me, right? A lot of passion behind it. I know the organization, does great things to help me personally,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Franco and I have had the pleasure of working together with the student chapter locally and in my hometown in Tampa, Florida. I know that he's moved on now to the professional side, but one of the things that they started doing at USF was hosting the hackathon. I don't know if the chapter's still doing it, but was it when you were president, Franco, you guys hosted the first hackathon?
It was probably towards the end of my presidency where it really launched, it's been ongoing for sure.
Yeah, and so I think that this idea of pitch competition looks different ways, right? You have hackathons and then you have pitch competitions, but they're very similar. And I'm curious, what do both of you, and especially interested in Steve's opinion, what do you think a pitch competition offers a rising entrepreneur? Like, why should someone participate in a pitch competition or these competitions in general?
You want to go first, Jonathan, or what do you?
You can go since kind of on a roll.
Okay. I think a pitch competition, to be honest, it kind of puts you as an entrepreneur on the spot, and it forces you to actually really think hard about your business because now you're competing against someone else and their business plan, right? And you're trying to impress, a panel of judges and investors that are there, and it really adds to, refinement of what you're doing. The other thing it really does is actually put your idea out there into the world, and you can get real world feedback, from it, and really grow your business from that. You know, I've done pitch competitions myself. I'll be honest with you, my first few were not so good, and I learned a lot from it. All right. I learned a lot from it. And those skills that you develop in developing your pitch competition will help you, you know, in operating your business as well. Because if you can sell your idea to investors, you're going to sell your idea to, you know, manufacturers and buyers and sellers and all these other things. And you never know who you're going to meet. And so networking thereafter, after everyone knows your story and that kind of thing, it's everything. There's more value than just the prize in a pitch competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you know, something unique about this year's first annual pitch competition is that it is going to be on an individual basis as opposed to like a team where you know, you see in other competitions. So to Steve's point, you're going to be pretty much the star of the show, right? You're going to have the idea, you're going to have the research, you're going to have really the opportunity to go and, you know, sell this to a bunch of, you know, investors, a network that maybe you didn't have the platform and the opportunity to, you know, really engage with before. And, you know, throughout the process, you're going to be asked a lot of questions as to how it's going to go into market, how, you know, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? You know, what if this doesn't work? So there's a lot of elements that, you know, you might not get on the first try. But, you know, if you're really serious about, you know, improving and, you know, launching your product or your idea in the future, you can take this experience and, you know, learn from experts, learn from people that, you know, do this on a day-to-day basis. And it's going to build your confidence, honestly. You know, for this pitch competition, there's going to be people that are at different stages of their prototype, you know, in different, you know, they're going to be in different, you know, stages, and they're going to be in different, you know, times of where they're ready to launch, or if they're on the beginning stages. So identifying where that is and really asking the questions to the people and accepting that feedback is sometimes things that maybe people necessarily don't want to do, because we want to believe that we have the greatest ideas ever. But if you kind of humble yourself a little bit and really take that feedback and that advice, I think it's going to propel you to a better future. But, you know, definitely, I would just say, if you're serious about it, even if you're maybe on the fence, you know, you lose nothing in at participating, and you're going to get some valuable experience no matter what.
Yeah, I want to add something here for especially for those of us that come from technical backgrounds, and, you know, you're not necessarily the life of the party or the most extroverted person, you know. This is a really good opportunity to learn just the art of presenting and winning an audience. So that's another set of skills, just the presentation itself, right? The act of presenting and kind of being nervous and messing up is part of the learning process, and where better than at a SHPE event with your familia, who will hug you and give you a drink after, if you're over 21. So as I'm hearing you guys talk about this, I'm wondering, like, how does someone prepare? What are some of the questions that someone can expect to be asked during a pitch competition?
I mean, you're going to be asked about your revenue model, what your profitability is, what your cost to produce is, how capitalized you are, where you're planning on selling it. Basically, you have to walk people through your game plan, right? And if you're pitching to raise money, you know, you have to walk them through how they're gonna get a return on their investment as well in a very short amount of time, right? And so you got to sell them on.
I want to say right there, Steve. I want to say right there, because we're using words that we might understand, but someone who is new and is just sitting in their garage tinkering might not understand terms like revenue model and return on investment. So just those two right there, I think we can kind of give them something to chew on. Let's talk about revenue models.
Sure.
One, actually, I think I have it here somewhere. I might have put it. Oh, it's sitting up on the shelf, but I might get it. The revenue model is different from a business plan. And people, I think, get really stuck on the academic exercise of creating a business plan. Can you explain, and I know this one was not in the program, but can you talk a little bit about the difference between a revenue model and a business plan?
Yeah, I mean, so your business plan is how you're planning on operating your business, and it has, you know, we're going to sell to this, we're going to manufacture here, we're going to hire these types of employees, that kind of thing. Your revenue model is really money in and money out, and the financing that goes around all of those things, right? So it's really the economics of you're selling price for X and you're getting Y, and you after all expenses you end up, you know, with a net profit of some amount. So it's really the numbers around it, and that's something that a lot of people miss in this, where they've got a great idea, but they haven't done like a real projection of how the cash flow is actually going to go. So that's the difference. You know, you can have a plan, but you got to actually model financially how the cash is going to come in and come out and actually give you that profit.
Yeah. So the book is Business Model Generation. I don't know if you have run across it, Steve, but if anybody is thinking of pitching, they don't know where to start or how to even organize their business model or their revenue model, then check out Business Model Generation. It's a really interactive book, and you can find, they use the business model canvas, and you can, it's kind of free resources that you can use to get yourself started in looking at the different pieces. I want to highlight that back to, you know, what you were saying, like actually projecting things out. If you are an engineer or if you are in school, you know how to use Excel. And it's basically looking at a budget like you would do for yourself. You have your revenue, you have your expenses, but then you're projecting that over time. So you're looking at month 1, month 2, month 3. You could also do year 1, year 2, year 3, and you can show how exactly you expect your revenue and your expenses to change over time. And that gives an investor the idea that you've actually gone through understanding your cost, understanding what it's going to take to generate that revenue, and that you have an idea of what your profit margin will be across a period of time. So those are 2 ways that you can prepare. Check out that book and start working on your pro forma statements and projections for the future. And then you said another thing that was not just revenue model. The other one was return on investment. So tell me, is there like a quick and dirty back of the napkin formula that people can use for return on investment?
So most people in early stage are looking to score big, right? They want to get 4, 5, 6, even 10 times on their money. So when you're looking at it, it's okay. If somebody gives you $1 million, they're looking to get 10 million out potentially, or is it 5? And when are and how are they going to get that? You know, so is it that they're giving you the money and you're getting a percentage of the sales up for you know, or is it that you're planning on building something and selling it to, you know, a company? So really you have to look at your exit. Just like in engineering, you got to figure out what it is that you actually want to get to when you grow up, right? The product you want to do, the building you want to build, and then you got to build the plan to get there, right? And that investor that's coming in, he wants to help you get there, but he wants to know how he's getting his, you know, his end goal. So you have to think about that.
So something that people sometimes miss when they're talking about investing is they think it's like free money, like a grant. Like, oh, they gave me $6 million. No, that's not what just happened. It's almost like a loan in the sense that they're expecting a return. It's not interest like in a loan. It's probably worse. Not worse in a bad way, but it's just that much more, right? Because they want tenfold return. They give you $1 million with the hope that they're going to make 10 million, right? Yeah. And in some cases, there's like an ownership even. There's a stake in the company. They want 3%, 10% of your company. So when you're pitching, part of the pitch, if I'm hearing you correct, Steve, is you need to present to them how they're going to make money with you, not just why they should give you money, but how they're going to make money back, and whether that comes with equity as well. Are they going to be part owners? And what is it that you're offering in exchange for that investment?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. No, you nailed it.
Cool. All right.
And just to add to that a little bit, it kind of leads into one of the questions. A lot of people, think high risk, high reward, low risk, low reward. With you and your experience, is there any like key aspects of the companies or individuals that you interact with where during your evaluation process you can really see, oh, okay, this is definitely something I really want to get into, or maybe the opportunity is not right, and you kind of deviate to maybe another company or another individual?
Yeah. No, look, I always go to the clear path to exit, right? So do they have a clear path to get to product, and do they have a clear path to exit? Do they have the vision to get there, and do they have the ability with what they're planning to exit and get to the end goal? A lot of these entrepreneurial journeys are long. This $1.5 billion, valuation company I was part of, Impact, that company is over 10 years old, right? It took them a long time to get where they're at, so do you have someone that's going to go the ride and go the mile? And by the way, they're still private. They haven't exited yet. So from an investor standpoint, an early stage investor is going to be with you for a long time. They don't get it unless it's a loan or something like that. Oftentimes, until you sell your business or you go public, there's not really a mechanism for the capital to come back. So it's something that you have to understand when you're pitching someone. It's going to be a long-term deal, or is it going to be a short-term and you have this? And I think getting your investor comfortable with that is really important.
I want to expand a little bit, Franco, on that question before you move on to the next one. Do you personally, right, does your company invest in a type of business? And what is your advice for people who are in a very niche industry? Like, how should they approach, this concept of looking for investors?
Yeah. So I do invest in consumer product companies, technology companies. I invest in things that generate cash flow in general, and I invest in real estate development projects. And the reason why is I'm kind of a shorter term investor guy, right? Me personally, I'm a 2 to 3 year return on investment guy. So I like to get you going. Like my company name is Redline, right? Because I rev up companies very quickly, and I try to move things very fast. So I look for shorter term plays where we can inject capital and do a partnership and build something and get to a fast return. Some people are like most venture capital firms are longer term plays because they're going for like the 100x. They want to invest in 10 different companies, and if one of them ends up being $1 billion company, then the other ones are there. It's just a difference of investor type and criteria there, and you'll get to know the different people and what they expect. But you don't know until you pitch them and you get to meet people. I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm thinking specifically that, if I'm starting a pharmaceutical company and I need to do a whole lot of development and testing and government approvals, then you're not the guy for me.
I'm not. Nope.
Right. Or if I want to invent the next, I don't know, aircraft engine, that would not be. And so it's important for people to know that they need to match what they are building with the type of investor who will go with them the long haul or the short haul, right?
Yep.
So.
Yep. And to that point, right, I make introductions to groups that will do that, right? Like I know a number of healthcare groups that do pharma and long-term plays, and they have special funds, and that's what they specialize in. It's a lot of us talk to each other because we get a lot of deal flow, and I try to help as much as I can by steering people the right way and shortcutting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. You
So,
want to go with the next one?
Yeah, so for individuals here at this pitch competition, the main goal is to have individuals that are at least at the prototype stage. I know, we've kind of had the conversation about return on investment and, is this going to really go out to market? But for individuals that maybe are not at that stage right now, what questions should they be prepared to answer, at the pitch competition from investors that, know that they're maybe not at that particular stage yet on they're going to get a return on investment, but they might be very close, and you can direct them to possibly another group or an organization that can support them to get to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're doing a conceptual pitch, it may be that they're not ready yet for capital, to be honest with you. There might be a little too early, or they still have to bootstrap a little bit further before they take outside investment. I would say that what you at least should have, though, if you're not at prototype stage, is a solid business plan, right? Because you can do that before you start, right? And you should have a conceptual model, and you can basically say, look, we're taking investment in about 4 months. Can I get your number? And when my prototype is ready to share with you, I'd love to, show you what I've got. And you start working on the relationship that's there. I'll tell you that one thing that's really important is that when somebody gives you money, it's you almost have to become you become their friend. You have to become their friend before somebody actually does that. Like it's not one of these things usually where you meet someone, okay, that's almost never happens. You got to meet people 6, 7, 8 times and actually build a personal relationship with every investor and build, and that's just how it is. So if you're starting now and you're building that relationship, in 4 months when you are ready, you're that much further ahead.
That brings up an excellent point. Not to cut you off, Francesca. A lot of individuals, when they, say they become the finalist, the top winner, and they come home with a grand prize. Maybe that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be receiving X amount of dollars from some of the investors. It's important to kind of set the expectation, and maybe they are the best out of that grouping. But what would you suggest to somebody who maybe becomes a finalist, wins? What type of training or coaching or other ways to kind of improve themselves? What would you recommend them to do?
In terms of just development of them professionally, or there's a lot of different options on the early stage. Depending on what sector you're in, there's a lot of accelerators that are out there, and joining an accelerator, the right accelerator, can be tremendously helpful because it comes with a support network, a framework, legal, maybe a little bit of capital, and really some just guided direction in there. Y Combinator is obviously the most famous of all of them. If you can get in there, you're, and you can graduate from there, you're generally guaranteed to do well, if you make it through, because they rigorously train you. But Y Combinator also has a lot of free resources on their website that you can dig into. A lot of co-working spaces like WeWork, for example, have networks of people and professional development workshops that you can join. And so that's what I recommend. And in general, mentorship is important. Building a board of directors of people that can support you in your journey is incredibly important. People think of the board as guys in suits like me and sitting behind. A real board is a board of professionals that have done well in whatever industry that you're in, that can add strategic value to your everyday and be a sounding board to support you. So building a strong advisory board and reaching out to people and bringing them on that way is critical. And that actually generally helps also with your pitch when you say you've got that support system in place.
as a resource for those people who are in the prototype phase. I think that Lean Startup is a good book and a good model to follow to just build something and get that customer discovery process in there, and making sure that you are not getting stuck in a perfect thing, but rather a sellable thing, something that people want, that the market will receive well. So that's just one resource. That's what I was going to say, Franco, that it's a good resource for people who are in the prototyping phase who might not be yet at that point of asking for money.
Yeah, I think Lean Startup is a great book for sure. Even past prototyping, as you expand and get into marketing, you really need to test the waters and prove out your theories and models and everything like that. So it's a great framework. I highly recommend it as well.
Yeah.
So on the, I guess, opposite spectrum, what are maybe some common mistakes that you see from individuals that maybe are starting out, or even people that maybe are a little bit more experienced, maybe in terms of their, kind of missing some steps, or they're trying to, kind of jump from step 1 to step 5, and I guess what advice would you give people that from experiences of individuals that you've kind of coached or kind of evaluated in the past?
Yeah, I mean, look, I would always just try and put yourself in the other person's shoes, right? If you're pitching, would you put money out of your own pocket into this? Would you, right? A lot of times there's holes in people's business plans, and they don't want to listen because they have a vision. And it's tough, it's your baby, right? It's your business. I would say take all feedback from people and think about it. There's a reason why someone's telling you something, right? And address it. I'd say that usually, in most cases, everything takes longer. All these people that said that they're going to buy your stuff are going to not buy your stuff. You're right. You're gonna, even though you've got everything designed out, it's not going to work. Okay. And that's fine. But you got to be able to work through all of those issues and get there. And that's what successful entrepreneurs do. Right. And sometimes you got to pivot. I'd say the number one thing you invest in is not the business. It's not the widget. It's the people that are creating and driving the business, and that's there. And if you have that drive, and you're able to take feedback, and you will be successful. You will find a way to get there.
I want to add something. So I coach a lot of entrepreneurs. Is kind of what I do. And there's two things usually, right? One is coachability. They fall in love with the product, especially when they're technical. And it's like, oh, and it's going to have twirling gnomes and sparkly rainbows, and it's going to be great. It's like, yeah, but you're the only person that wants that. And so it's great for you. But unfortunately, you need 1,000 people to agree with you right now, and that's not happening. So are you open enough to that feedback where you don't fall in love with the product, you fall in love with the business? You need to be more business-minded than product-minded, and allow the product to match the market. So that product market fit is so crucial in that early stage. So definitely Lean Startup, and definitely understand where we're coming from. I think that it has a framework and a method for helping you achieve that. The second thing that I see people doing is that they will do the wrong thing or the right thing at the wrong time. They will be focused on solving a business problem at the wrong time in their timeline. And I think it goes along with what you were saying, that you invest in people, not necessarily on the product or, some of these other things. So I think I'm curious, when I teach this, I tell people there's different phases of business. First, you have your ideation, then prototyping, monetization. Can you actually sell this thing? Then you grow it. then you make it steady. And if you don't take care of the garden, then it declines, right?
Yep.
When do you think is the right time for someone to pursue venture capital? Like, when do you go after a funder? How do you know you're ready?
Yeah, so venture capital is a little different than, I guess, if you're talking like venture capital, like Series A, $5 million plus checks, you know, you've got a working prototype and you have established product market fit. You have data, that you have sales, you have something in the market that's there, that where basically where you want to be at is, okay, I know it works. I know like this, I need 5 million so that my little sales like this go like this, because it's scalable and ready to go. And I know how to get there. If you're not at that stage, you're not ready for venture capital, because they're looking for immediate growth. And they're generally not there to kind of gamble on, is this product actually going to sell? They want to see that you have sales. They want to see that you know what their market is. They want to see that you know how to make the product at that stage. You know, so that's where it's at. Earlier stage, it's friends and family and individual angel investors, you know, for the most part. You know, and again, as I mentioned, it's a relationship building, right? So your friends and family that you've known for years and years and years, they're going to be the ones that are going to take the bet on you, because they know you, right? They know you better than anyone. You know, they're not going to, you know, unless you've got some very wealthy family, they're probably not going to be the size of check that a venture capital firm would do, but they're going to get you out of the gate to try and get you to that product market fit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have more questions, but I'm gonna hold back, Franco.
No, you're on a roll. I'm learning so much right now. Keep going.
So one of the things that I think pitch competitions allow people to do is precisely even test an idea. It's to come forth and say, well, this is what I'm thinking, and this is how I think it would work. And then you get that feedback without having to ever actually do a manufacturing, you know, run or try to go out and sell something. So what do you think are some things that people could consider? So let me rephrase my question. If all I have is an idea, right? And now you guys have told me, okay, read Lean Startup, put your MVP together, come with like I call it your Frankenstein prototype. You know, it's going to look wonky, it's going to walk wobbly, but that's fine. What kind of iterations, like what is that process like? And I'm thinking specifically, I'm convoluting my question because I want to say it instead of ask it. So I'm just going to say it and we can just discuss it.
You're
like
good.
you can make pitch competitions your strategy almost. Like you can make that your process for a year to shape your thing. And you go here and you go there. In the process, you might be making money, you might be getting better. And you can use some of that money to start investing in your prototype. And so pitch competitions are a thing of their own. You can actually build connections, meet people, right? Like start that networking process through pitch competitions. Yep. So what do you think? I was trying to make it a question, but that didn't work out.
No, 100%. 100%. You know what? The network of people I have is from going to pitch competitions and to going to conferences and meeting people and making connections and seeing where things plug in, you know, and somebody you meet today may not be a fit at the moment, but in 5 years from now, when you're at a different stage or, you know, you're doing something slightly different, all of a sudden it's, you know, it's that. I mean, you know, I've got many manufacturers, investors, lawyers, accountants, all these are people I met out and about, you know, not really from Google searches, right? Relationships that were built, you know, at these types of events. So, you know, there's spectacular. There's a lot of benefits to to pitching. And yeah, you will get better. The more of these you do, the better you will be at them, and the better your business will be as a result as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just to build off on that a little bit, because I like that word Frankenstein, project there. A lot of people probably are thinking, what's the best form of presenting this? Do I need a PowerPoint slide? Do I need to do a video? Do I need to have something as a visual? Is there a preference as to, how to display it? Is it kind of, depend on the individual, the product, what they're trying to sell? What kind of guidance can you give or speak to that?
Look, I think having some visuals is very helpful. Explain, not a lot of words and not a lot of slides. You want to get your point across very quickly. In the first 30 seconds, you want the people to know what you're doing. What are you actually building, right? And where are you going with it? And if you get that, you'll capture attention, and they can listen to kind of the rest of it. But yeah, slides are great. Depending on the crowd, usually like in-person visuals are not that great. So yeah, just having some really important slides are there. And like the important stuff is, what your product is, who you're selling to, how much are you raising, what your market is, what your sales, what your sales projections are, and who your team is, right? That's going. And if you talk of those couple points and you have them there, you want to make a lasting impression. So, not a lot of slides, but you just want to short, impactful, quick, descriptive. So.
And a lot of people, not to cut you off again, Francesca, but
sorry.
But when people probably hear the word pitch, I know when I was in school way back when, we said like, hey, make sure that you prepare your elevator pitch, right? Make sure that if you get stuck with a recruiter, within 30 seconds, like blurt everything you out and try to get their attention, right? Is there a set amount of time that you recommend, people to kind of practice, not necessarily reading off script, but to really grasp the attention of the investors, or within how many seconds or minutes can you do an evaluation as an investor to kind of see, oh, I want to learn more about this, or hey, it's a great idea, but maybe it's not a right fit.
No, I got it. Look, I'm always a fan of short and concise on the front end. I don't know how much time we're allocating in the pitch competition. Jonathan, what's our time?
I'm recommending 3 minutes.
3 minutes. You can do a lot in 3 minutes. You can do a lot in 3 minutes. 3 minutes, somebody's going to know what you're doing. If it's interesting to them, where you're going, like it'll fly right by. So that's a little on the shorter side, I would say, but you can definitely get your point across in a very concise fashion there. Yeah.
I want to encourage the people that are attending to include questions in the chat. We're approaching the last 15 minutes, and it's a good time for us to include you. So if you have questions, please feel free to add them there. One way that when I coach people that are doing pitches and whatnot, these are my questions. This is how I help them prepare in case that anybody finds this useful. It's what's the problem? Why is it hard to solve? Why you and how, right? And so that's kind of to describe the problem, but the how is the really important piece, because ideas are worth pennies. It's all about the execution, right? When you think of like taxis, like there's taxi companies everywhere, and then there's Uber, and then there's Lyft. So it's not taxiing, like there's nothing new about the problem of transportation. It's the how, like how are you solving this problem and why you, right? Like that's where the meat is. So don't spend 2 out of your 3 minutes explaining the problem. Spend 2.5 minutes explaining how you're going to solve it, but make sure that you address the importance and the urgency of the problem and why it needs to be solved, right? But do that in as little amount as possible of time, and then spend your time on that how, like how you're going to do it. So if that helps anybody, that's a framework you can use to, that's 4 slides. So keep it short and sweet.
And I think, most of the recognition as to the 3 minutes is based on your previous competitions. Sometimes, well, I'll use the word fluff. They try to put stuff that, they think is necessary, but not really. But when you're really looking to have people, invest in you, you're trying to really get their attention, you want to make sure that you get to the point. And even though it might feel like a short amount of time, you can definitely get your point across and really leave them with the important information that can lead to, preceding questions. But at least they have a good basis as to, what you're talking about. And if they want to go into a little bit more of the specifics, they'll be the ones asking you, and you'll be able to elaborate that way, or a little bit.
And the best thing that can happen to you is that you lose the pitch competition, but in 6 months you get $500,000 from an angel investor, right?
Whoa.
So it's not about the winning of the competition, right? It's not necessarily the best pitch, but it's can you whet their appetite enough for them to be super interested in this thing that you're building and this solution that you're creating. So just, a thought for people who might be scared of like not winning the competition. It's okay not to win that competition. It's really cool to get that contact to become an investor later on.
And I will add also, as part of the entrepreneurship track, say you don't become one of the finalists for the pitch competition, we do have a workshop available where we're going to be able to coach you and give you tips from individuals that see pitches all the time, look at opportunities all the time, and they can really dissect where maybe you lack some information, where you could things that you could work on. So even though you might necessarily make the cut, don't fear, because at that national convention, we will have someone that is going to be there to support you and give you some feedback, so that whether it's this competition next year or other competitions that you're interested in, throughout the years, you'll be able to be a little bit more prepared. And I guess we'll go to the chat.
Yeah, we have a question. So how do people sign up for the competition, Franco?
Yeah, so right now, hopefully you guys have all registered for national conference. There is a section right now where you will express interest for all the competitions. Obviously, number 1 would be pitch competition, of course. We will be receiving, myself will be receiving a list of people that are interested. Once we have that list within the next few weeks, we will send a link, a registration link, for those individuals that express interest, so that you guys can go ahead and register for the competition itself. One of the requirements is obviously that you guys had registered for a national conference, and we will ask that you guys submit a short 1-page bio, your picture, and a little bit of a description as to what your prototype is, what stages are, just to get a better idea as to what you're going to bring to the table. And it's more, it'll give us a little bit more information to go off of. And we are being sponsored by
I'm going to paraphrase that, Franco, just to make sure that I even understand, so I can tell people how to do this. They register for convention. They indicate interest in the pitch competition. That's step 1. Step 2 is they'll get an actual registration link.
Yes.
And then step 3 is there's like a cutoff, right? So not everybody that wants to will get to compete. So there's a process for whittling it down. Okay.
Yeah, so when we register, you'll as part of the registration, you'll send us the bio, the 1-page bio. We're going to target the top 25. There's going to be a group of third-party panelists. They're going to have a rubric that will be available to you when you guys register, of criteria that you guys should be able to meet, probably 5 or 6 points. And that they will be selecting the top 25 out of, say, 100 individuals that register for the link. And those individuals right after the registration ends on September 24th, they will, in a week's time, receive the confirmation, hey, you're ready to move on to the next stage. And at that time, we will kind of lay out what the whole month of October looks leading up to National Conference.
Okay.
Hopefully that is clear enough.
Clear enough for me. I get it. So I can tell people how to do this. Is it open to professionals?
If you have registered for National Conference, you are eligible to participate in the pitch competition.
I'm so excited about that. So, yes.
So don't be scared, all right? I want to see everybody, all 6,000 or 7,000 people registered.
Remember, it's about the how. So just because some people might be older doesn't mean that they know more about revenue models and how to pitch that effectively. So age is not a factor here.
Absolutely.
Ooh, there's another.
Oh, there's a prize? Of course there's a prize, guys. Come on now. We wouldn't be doing a competition with a prize. That makes zero sense whatsoever. Yeah, so the grand prize winner will be receiving $2,500, excuse me. Second place will be receiving $1,250, and third place will be receiving $800 with a lot of swag and a lot of extra things to give away. But as an added bonus, you guys will be able to expand your network. A lot of people are always talking about, what is network? Who it's not, who but who you can really, who can you count on when you actually need, support on something, right? So at the event, you're going to be exposed to individuals that this is all they do. They look at opportunities, to invest in, and you're going to have that one-on-one time. Maybe in a conference room, maybe you guys can go out to lunch, dinner, go grab a drink. If you're over 21, of course, like Francesca said, and you'll get to have that little bit more of exposure and, become a little bit more friends with them, right? If somebody's gonna be willing to give you money, like Steve said, you have to build that relationship with individuals, and it's up to you at that point to kind of make that development of relationship. But that whole exposure part is what is going to really stand out for the individuals.
And so who is sponsoring these prizes?
So our sponsor is Lockheed Martin. And thank you very much, Lockheed Martin. Hopefully you guys see this shout out on this recording and, sponsor us for upcoming years.
Awesome. Awesome. Any, go ahead, Dora.
I just also want to share that Steve is going to be one of our judges. He's agreed to do that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Excited to be part of it. 100%.
Yeah. This is great. This is great. I just met Steve, and now I'm going to follow up with Steve because I have some things that might be interesting for him. So
sure.
That's how this happens. Yeah, this is great. So parting thoughts. We have about 7 minutes. What should we leave people with? And maybe we can all take turns with parting thoughts.
I can go. I think that if you have an idea, if you're looking to build a business, I think joining a pitch competition is a great way to get it kick-started and going, because it'll motivate you to do it, because you don't want to embarrass yourself for 3 minutes there, right? And you're gonna put the work into it. So I'd say you have everything to gain by joining and competing and participating. So do it, and look forward to meeting and being a part of it and watching everyone's pitches.
Yeah.
For me, it's gonna be just like the famous saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. No matter if you feel like you're ready, or you feel that you're gonna embarrass yourself, whatever the case, right? Like Steve said, just try it. If it's your first time ever doing some sort of competition, whether it's pitch or anything in life, right? Just go for it. Try your best. We will provide meaningful feedback. Like Francesca said, we're all familia here. We're not trying to crush your guys' dreams. We're giving you guys an opportunity, a platform to be able to learn, express yourself, and really you take this experience and, who knows, maybe after doing this a few times or getting some experience, you might be one of the panelists here that we bring back, telling us about the success story that started at the pitch competition.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, thinking about what if being positive, not just negative, right? Like, what if it works? I think my parting thought, shoot, I asked the question, but I wasn't ready to answer. I would say it's not going to be ready. You're not ready. You're never going to be ready. Ready is like perfect. Those two words are just, I don't know, settings on a dryer. Like, it's not, don't wait to have the right product or the perfect thing or to feel ready. That, I tell my clients all the time, fear is just an opportunity to be courageous. So be courageous. If you're afraid that you're going to fall flat on your face, then, success will be not falling flat on your face. Just be courageous, and don't wait to be ready or to have it all perfect. There's no such thing.
Okay. Well, there you go, Ship Familia. Join me in thanking our panelists, Steve, Francesca, and Franco. We appreciate you all sharing your valuable knowledge with the Ship Familia. I do want to remind you again, if you're interested in entrepreneurship or the steps on how to pitch, make sure you come and see the track in person at the National Convention in Orlando, November 8th through the 12th. And the last reminder that this recording, along with all of our other latinXfactor webinars, are found on the SHIP National YouTube page. Signing off from SHIP National, buenas noches, and stay safe and well. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, guys.